Oh shit. Here we go again. Man, who gave this old man Twitter? Who taught him how this works? Someone tell him when he mentions me, do research first. Oh, wait a minute. You know about me. You definitely know about me. There was no way, like, no reason why you should have asked your people behind a paywall on the Wrestling Observer who is Marie Shadows. I thought we went over this, David. Yeah, I'm going to be calling you David because I was giving you respect before, but after that exchange last night, no. David, I thought you knew about me because guess what? You've been part of my wrestling newsletter, the Square Circle Podcast Hub, since 2023. November 25th, 2023, to be exact. So, ladies and gentlemen, come with me on a little story time conversation. So here's how it happened. On Twitter, as you know, everyone has an opinion. Everyone either quote tweets or replies, and somebody has an opinion about something, right? That is very, very normal in the big picture of things. But I remember specifically in 2023, because that's when you signed up to my newsletter, that you were just being very high and mighty and basically quote tweeting a lot of people, and I was quote tweeting too with my opinions on stuff. And I remember distinctively that I was just like, hey, anybody could run a newsletter. It's not that difficult, it's not that hard, and anybody could have one. Like, really? So then I go and drop my Substack link because that's what I do. I let you guys know that I'm around. Here's my Substack link. Here's this link. Here's that link. Go buy merch. Go buy this. Go do that. Right? So I dropped my Substack link, and lo and behold, you sign up for it because you want to probably keep an eye on me. But, since you've been a member for 2 years, let me address the whole entire email situation because that was the big talk on yesterday's back and forth with you. So you've been a free subscriber. You've been living rent free on not only my newsletter, but also thinking about me and also stalking me forever. And sooner or later, you're going to have to pay rent, David. So you've been a free subscriber on my list since November 25th, 2023. And this is from the Substack network. You have paid $0 so far. You received 27 emails, even though last night I checked this status and it was 28 emails that you received. I don't know what happened. And apparently you opened 6 and that number stayed the same. You clicked on 0 links. Now, if we go down the list, right? You received every single email from January 10th and above. So you have just received it. You haven't even opened about it. You haven't even tried to look at anything. However, let's talk about the big one that we were talking about yesterday between January 8th and January 9th. January 8th is when I put out to the world debunking Dave Meltzer's tweet about Chris Charlton's suspension hiatus over anti-AEW, and those are quote comments. And the subtitle of that reads, Analyzing Misinformation in Wrestling Journalism. If New Japan Pro Wrestling hasn't released a press statement, don't believe the chaos. And so this is what happened. I released this on January 8th, 2025. It is not only on my Substack, it is on my Spotify. It is on my YouTube as well. So youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. Search Square Circle Podcast on Spotify and then marieshadows.substack.com, and you can definitely see where everything is at. There is also a transcript that you can look at on the newsletter itself. So when you have a newsletter, ladies and gentlemen, what you do is that you write it up, you type it up, whatever you want to put. You can put pictures, you can just leave it as text. You can either insert YouTube videos to prove your point. You can even include your own videos. You can make whatever you want. in these newsletters. So think of like a regular email that you'll send to somebody, but this is just upgraded with a lot more fancy stuff that you can add. So I have a subscribers list, much like David here. David also has a subscribers list. The only difference is that I'm not charging you money to access my newsletter. He's charging you $14.99 for what? What value have you gotten out of $14.99? Nothing really. So my Substack is completely free. Anybody can access it. You can definitely sign up for free if you want to. If you want to upgrade, there are options for that, but you can only upgrade if I put out a tape study series where I'm breaking down a professional wrestling match, where you get a private tour of like what it means to have a wrestling match, moves and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so as I create this thing, I can send it to my whole entire subscribers list. And what will show up in their email, in their inbox, is the heading, what newsletter section this is, the title, and all of the information neatly packed. And there are buttons to choose from that would say, subscribe now, leave a message, and leave a chat or something like that. And that is what will be presented to you in the inbox if you were to sign up and become part of the Square Circle Podcast Hub. So send it out. Dave did reply back to me, and he did write that email on the Twitter timeline. And I did read it, and it was only 2 lines. There was no greeting. There was no greeting as in like, hey, Marie, I saw that you put out this email. There are some things that I want to talk about and clear up for you to correct, and you didn't lay out nothing. You are telling the internet a bunch of lies, David. You did not do nothing. You sent me 2 lines. The first line you typed verbatim in that tweet that said that New Japan Pro Wrestling told you personally. What you forgot to tell everybody else is that you told me, please do better. That is why I hit you with the please do better when I was doing the 1, 2, 3 points, because how dare you leave that out to tell the world that you're the innocent one and that you're the one that wants the apology. And by the way, how am I supposed to know you want an apology? And 7 weeks after the fact, you're like, oh, let me know when she apologizes. You do know that being a human being, you got to tell the other person that however you got hurt, you want an apology. But because you never told me and I have to find out that way is super childish. Crying about a 7-week waiting period for an apology and for me to correct it. This is why I said online that where is the evidence? And I said that you have my email. You could have emailed me at any time with the evidence that says, yes, Chris Charlton is suspended because of these reasons. I'm looking for reasons. I'm not looking for hearsay. I'm not here to reinforce the bubble that you want to put on others, especially in the community, of the trust me, bro, the trust me source. Like, oh my God, trust me. It was a vague tweet. That said, Chris Charlton has been suspended indefinitely and will be taking an absence of leave. That is a very vague tweet. You usually on the timeline include some type of source where we can trace that for it to be, yes, this is correct. But you and everybody else in the wrestling media did not do that. Just because it has been acknowledged does not make it to be confirmed. You have fooling people so many times and they believe the hearsay and they will accept anything. But I am going to stand here on my own 2 feet and I am not going to be bothered or moved by you because you want an apology where there is no apology. And for everybody that's saying that I lost, this wasn't about wins or losing. It was just about where is the evidence? Where is it? If you know all these big power names in the business and you have them all on speed dial, aka Tony Khan, then why did you not try to call New Japan Pro Wrestling during the 7 weeks of you waiting for this apology from me? How come you didn't call none of these big shots that you could have easily gotten the reasons, the evidence, show it to me, proof, all that proof? And I would have corrected it. But again, it seems like there's this weird little man-child syndrome going on in the wrestling media, that whenever someone as vocal as me that tends to be a female, the boys have a problem with it rather than trying to talk to me as an adult. But you guys want to discredit me. How can you discredit somebody that never claims they are a reporter? I don't claim that I report the news. Whatever news is given to me via my inbox by my connections, and if I feel like my audience, my readers should know about it, I will put it on my newsletter. Simple as that. If I feel like, oh, I want to share it, I'll share it. But I never say, oh, my sources told me this, my sources told me that. I do know people in the business. I work in the business. And I'm damn proud that I work in the business. No one is going to take that away from me. So for all the haters out there, please stop with that. Oh, her bio tells you exactly who she is. You guys don't know the first thing about me. You guys really don't know. Anyway, back to this newsletter. So the newsletter goes out, and again, that's the only 2 lines that he told me that New Japan told him personally, and please do better. So let's break that down. Because he used the word personally, that means that somebody that he knows that is buddy with him and have him on speed dial told him. Nobody from the official office of New Japan Pro Wrestling told him this. And for the kicker, most of the people in management in New Japan Pro Wrestling speak Japanese. They know English, but their English is only but so much. So they're really not going to text Uncle Dave over here or David that Chris Charlton is suspended. And no regular New Japan wrestler is going to text Dave, hey, Chris Charlton is suspended, tell the world. No one's going to do that. So it has to be the people that were there at Wrestle Dynasty. Now, who in AEW was there at Wrestle Dynasty? We had Sammy Guevara, we had Dustin Rhodes, we had Kenny Omega, we had the Young Bucks, we had Rocky, we had Brody King, we had Claudio Castagnoli, we had Mercedes Moné, and I believe that's it. If I miss anybody, I miss anybody. But there had to be a buddy there to tell this to David, because David said that they told him personally, not even in a professional way, because you have to be careful with your wording, David, because it's a tell. Everything that you do and say, the way you phrase it and the way you move is a tell, dude. So who was it? I would like to know, who was it? And I didn't even ask you that in the follow-up email. So keep in mind that January 8th is when I sent out the debunking newsletter. He got it. He responded to me to 2 lines. And then January 9th, the next day, I responded to him. Let me read it to you guys. Hi, Dave. Good afternoon. I am deeply disappointed with your recent NJPW coverage. Your decision to publish information without citing a source, giving any proof, or any direct input from affected party, in this case Chris Charlton, is a significant departure from the journalistic standards we, the wrestling community, have come to expect from you. This incident reinforces a concerning trend where rumor and sensationalism seem to be prioritized over accuracy and responsible reporting. As a once respected figure in the pro wrestling media industry, your actions undermine your own legacy and continue to a climate where misinformation thrives. The wrestling community does not need more information. They need truth. I urge you to reconsider your approach and prioritize verified information and due diligence. If your information originates from a direct source representing New Japan Pro Wrestling, it is crucial to explicitly state that in your reporting. It's important to acknowledge that your word alone is not considered definitive, especially given the documented instances of individuals deliberately feeding you false information for their own amusement. This highlights the importance of thorough fact-checking and responsible sourcing. The recent incident involving the fabricated AEW financial sheets serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of publishing unsubstantiated information. I sincerely hope this serves as a wake-up call. The industry deserves better, and your reputation deserves to be protected. Sincerely, Marie Shadows. That is the email I sent back. No word ever since January 9th. And you want to know how there isn't no word since January 9th? Because let's go back to the list of what he received. So, January 8th, he opened up the email debunking Dave Meltzer. He received the email for On the Record Wrestle Dynasty 1.525 commentary transcript, where I took the transcript from Wrestle Dynasty where Chris Charlton says that Tony Khan is a money mark. However, he's being a heel and he's just repeating what Gabriel Kidd has said in his promos. And so that is when David here cried to his people on the Wrestling Observer and basically said, who is Marie Shadows? Because I made up 2 stories about him. No, Dave, I didn't make up any stories about you. Like, damn, dude, you're not the main character. I'm asking questions. And he opened on January 9th, again, the debunking of Dave Meltzer's tweet about Chris Charlton, but he hasn't said anything to me. So January 10th, he receives the MLW Kings of Coliseum preview that I did with Dos Evo. January 26th, he receives the email of Kings and Queens, another MLW review. On February 7th, he receives the Good, the Bad, and the Tony Khan No-Show. On February 8th, he receives the Jey Uso eliminates John Cena. On February 17th, received the email of MLW. February 19th, he received the AEW Ring Gate. On February 20th, he received the email that I sent out to people that haven't really been active, still into wrestling, to make sure that they still want to be a part of the Square Circle Podcast Hub. And I gave people an option of like, hey, if you want to continue, just open up the emails. And then if you don't, you can unsubscribe, no big deal. And then February 22nd, he receives the email for Don't Miss Out, wrestling exclusive chats and sneak peeks inside. This is where I tell my fan base that I will be going to have paid certain type of content behind a paywall, and then we're going to do SUBSTACK chats, which is a private chat group that you guys could join as well. So what this tells me is that he receives the emails, but he opens up some of them. So tell me again why you were waiting 7 weeks for me to correct it if there's still no evidence. Why am I apologizing? What am I apologizing for? I want to know the cool thing about Substack is that they measure activity in stars. And we all know that David here loves giving out star ratings for matches. So when he signed up, he was at a 5-star and then went down to a 3-star. And then now he's down to a 0-star. I think you need to apologize for not getting your stars up. So now that the email stuff is out of the way, because there was only 2 emails. The first one where he just sent me 2 lines, very, very condescending. And when I sent him a very thorough, thought out email response, nothing at all. So I have no idea what he's talking about, where he's like, oh, you should check your emails. I do check my emails. The emails that end up getting sent out to my readers on Substack, when they reply, it's still under the Substack banner. So it's not like we created a whole new email reply message thing where we take our personal emails and start chatting to each other. That's not how Substack works. Anybody who has signed up to my newsletter can send me a message and it will be under the Substack banner, and we will be talking within the Substack hut kind of thing for sending messages back and forth. We're not doing a personal email reply to a personal email. We're not doing that. Just a quick reminder, if you have not checked out the debunking of the Chris Charlton tweets, here it is in a nutshell. I asked questions about the situation because it's just a lot of questions. And the way that everything went down seemed a little too fast, seemed a little too weird. There wasn't an investigation. There wasn't a conversation about it. It was just like, oh, he got suspended. Now, the weirdest thing is that even before the suspension tweet came out, Chris Charlton is posing with a bloody Kenny Omega in Wrestle Dynasty and put it up on his Twitter. So who sounded the alarm in a personal email or a personal text to David to say that, oh, he's suspended? Is he suspended because he took a picture with Kenny Omega? I also talked about how the New Japan offices is not far from the venue that they had New Year's Dash in. So Chris Charlton could have easily went to work and do commentary because he has a double contract. He works in the office, does commentary when he's needed. And so he could have attended, but because it was on a Monday, he probably was needed more in the office. See, this is the thing. There's no substantial evidence or good reasoning, and there could be a million reasons as to why he didn't show up on a Monday to call the action for New Year's Dash. But David here wants us to take his hearsay and everyone else's hearsay as word when nothing has been confirmed and everything is so sensationalized. And people just take it and run with it and be like, oh my God, they're so right. Like, why are you trying to tell them that they're wrong? Like, oh my God, they are forever right. No. Start thinking for yourselves, because it is very sad that you guys don't break away from the bubble, because it's very easy to attach yourselves to people that will tell you what you want to hear rather than what you need to hear. Most people make up their mind on the people that they attach themselves to based on personality and based on what they can align themselves with and go with the herd mentality rather than being themselves and being truthful. And for all the times that we have debunked David in the past, you guys have yet to see the light. So that was the email situation. There has only been 2 emails between myself and David. Yesterday was the first time in 7 weeks that we have ever spoken. And by the way, my name is Marie Shadows. Remember it. My name is Marie Shadows. The same way that I call you Uncle Dave or Dave Meltzer, and I always said, I apologize for messing up your last name because it is kind of weird just to say it. And I heard Meltzer all the time with the T in front instead of the L. I was giving you respect until yesterday. So this is why today you are David. So let's go through this conversation as a Q&A because I don't need the clout. I just don't like someone trying to discredit me when you can't really discredit me, because my content isn't about creating fake news. My content isn't about talking news. I tell everybody that will listen that we're not talking about news on my show. I'll talk news with other people that I collaborate because that is their show format and I'm giving my 2 cents. And I'm not going to be rude and be like, oh my God, because I don't do it, we're not doing it. I don't control other people's work and what they want to do. I adapt to what they want to do. So on my show and my content, I barely talk about news unless I really, really have to, just to give a different perspective out there. So this is how it all went down. My buddy, G Coalition, said, friendly reminder that Marie Shadows actually tried to save David, Tony Khan, AEW, from the Ricky Starks fumble, but they refused to accept her good console. So basically back in 2024, when I believe this was during the Continental Classic, that, you know, TK should have booked Ricky Starks for Juice's replacement, and it would have restored some type of good faith in the AEW fan base. It would have done that. And then me and Meltzer got into it, and I basically said, oh, but you have TK's number. You could have texted him at any time. Quiet. Very, very quiet. To which yesterday, here comes David, and he says, let me know when she apologizes for claiming I made up Chris Charlton's suspension. Also, I have no hand in booking. Sir, my name is Marie Shadows. To which I say, hi. Show me the evidence or you do better reporting, in quotation marks. New Japan has yet to say a word when they usually do. You have my email. You may not have a hand in booking, in quotation marks, AEW, but you have influence in booking AEW. You can text TK at any time. And for those wondering, because I did see a comment floating around about, like, why would New Japan put out a statement about Chris Charlton and stuff like that? It's because New Japan Pro Wrestling does the best PR I have ever seen. If a wrestler so much as sneezes, they will be like, sorry guys, he can't compete tonight. Such and such wrestler will take over his match and sorry for the inconvenience. They will literally do that. The lion mark symbol for their way to tell us what happened is usually bad news. And I did find a tweet where they actually did say such and such person is suspended, but not for Chris Charlton though. So before I tell you and reveal what it is, I need to let you guys know what the word worker means in the business, because you guys don't really know insider terms and you're not going to get it from Uncle Dave. So a worker in the business is anyone that is professionally trained to be a wrestler, to take bumps, to be part of ring crew, build a ring, the announcers, the commentators, the backstage interviewers who are prepped and prime and ready for this, the person who rings the bell, the timekeeper, the camera crew, everybody involved in making what we love. They are workers. I am also a worker. I work in the business. And that is what a worker means. You work in the business, you are professional, you are able to go from 0 to 100, you're able to adapt. And so we will apply this definition to Chris Charlton. Chris Charlton is a worker every time that he becomes a commentator. When he is not commentating and he's in the offices, he's basically an office guy for New Japan Pro Wrestling. But during Wrestle Dynasty, he was a heel commentator. He was working. He is a worker. So by knowing that definition, New Japan Pro Wrestling suspended Juice Robinson back in April 16th, 2023. The tweet goes, and this is from New Japan Global themselves. As a result of events last night in Washington, D.C., NJPW has determined that Juice Robinson be suspended effective immediately and until further notice. Details, card changes, and they add the link to where you can verify the actual source coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling that at that time, Juice Robinson was suspended. Now, I know I'm going to have some knuckleheads probably in the comments or something that's going to be like, oh, well, that's kayfabe. That's kayfabe. It doesn't matter. We're going to apply the term worker to Juice Robinson. We're going to apply the term worker to Chris Charlton. And again, this is evidence that New Japan Pro Wrestling does its own PR. This is what I've been saying. If you pay attention to every single one of my podcast episodes and live stream, they do great PR. And this will be included in the newsletter. Now, back to the tweet fight. So David replies to me, puffing out his chest for this one. I can text or email almost any major power person anytime. I'm not helping book WWE either, even though I do discuss it with people in power all the time. Also, it has been acknowledged everywhere that Charlton is suspended and will be returning in 2 weeks. I also emailed you that directly and told you it was confirmed by those in the company when you accused me of making that up, and the next day you just repeated the same stuff. I get the clout chasing and should have responded, so that's it from here. Dude, you kept going at me for no reason, and that's a big bunch of fluff. And I already exposed the emails. And I already said you haven't opened up an email since January 9th. We haven't talked since. And none of that of what you said is in that email. All you said was NJPW informed you personally. Please do better. Where's the extra context, sir? Stop lying to people. My response to that was, you absolutely did not email me back after January 9th. First time since we interact, and the info mentioned here wasn't in the email. You and I know that. You need to learn how to tell the truth. It'll save you. But you said I'm doing this for clout, and you're done with this. So why the hell did you keep on responding to me if you felt like you were done with this conversation in the first place? Now get this. Whatever. Space. The first time you sent me your report, I saw it and emailed right back very nicely explaining that he was in fact suspended, and New Japan people told me space, space, space. It's since been acknowledged everywhere, space, space, space. If you don't get your emails, it's been 7 weeks with Charlton gone, so you have had 7 weeks to apologize for claiming I made something up. In the original tweet, I never said you were making it up. I simply quote tweeted you and said, did TK text this to you? We're tired of the wrestling politics, and sharing continues the division. Chris needs to confirm or deny this. What I know, Chris does commentary when New Japan Pro Wrestling tours Tokyo and surrounding areas close to the offices. If New Japan Pro Wrestling was going to Sendai, he won't be there. So I was putting it into perspective that this tweet of yours of Chris Charlton is on an indefinite hiatus from commentary due to his anti-AEW comments during the Dynasty show is sort of like, what? It came out of left field. There's no article to go with it. There's no NJPW statement. It doesn't even start with, I was told by NJPW to let you guys know, unfortunately, Chris Charlton is on an indefinite suspension. That could have made your case way better, and the reputation could have been a little bit better. But just to say it straight out because you were told personally, again, personally, who told you? I even added some extra content to show you that he was able to go to the New Year's Dash event. So I'm not saying that you're making it up. It just sounds too vague, too sensationalized. And because it's personal, you think that this is a personal attack. It's not. It's asking questions. There was no harm in asking questions. If we are not able to ask questions, how are we going to learn and be better for ourselves? So I decided to do 2 different tweets after the whatever with the space. This is the first tweet that I said, if asking questions has you believing I'm clout chasing, David, means you don't know what a real reporter is. Giving a story without evidence doesn't mean that your story is true. You said NJPW told you, but NJPW hasn't made a statement in the 7 weeks. Both of us don't have this email, and I don't have any other information because David here is not sharing it with me so I can correct whatever he wants me to correct. You have to do something wrong in order to get an apology. Asking questions does not make you wrong. I followed up my tweet with Chris Charlton hasn't confirmed or denied, and there's a number of reasons why a person is gone for 7 weeks. Again, where is the evidence? At this point, it's all hearsay, and the wrestling community and wrestling media shouldn't have stories with no evidence. Now, here's the second tweet that I decided to do, and he decided to take it. The second tweet for that whatever with the space, I go and say, you saying whatever is a huge tell, David, because it is a huge tell if you're going to be like whatever. I'm here asking for evidence 7 weeks later, but you're butthurt and you want an apology and you can't tell me straight out why you want the apology or what you want me to correct. How can I correct something when there is no evidence to be shown? I am not here to please the sheep. I am not here to please the herd. I am not here to make myself small because you want to be right on some fucking hearsay and some personal vendetta because somebody is questioning you. This is real life, dude. People question each other. If we're not questioning, we're not learning, we're not growing. I guess someone hasn't grown up yet. To which he says to me, check your email on January 8th at 1:20 p.m., which read in response to you saying I made up the Charlton suspension. In quotation marks, he says, New Japan informed me personally. Again, with that word personally. Who told you? At Wrestle Dynasty, we know for certain that Dustin Rhodes was there. Sammy Guevara was there. Monet was there. Rocky was there. Kenny was there. The Young Bucks was there. Brody King was there. Claudio Castagnoli was there. And Tony Khan, by his absence, which is a disrespect on Japanese culture and New Japan because they have this partnership, was not there. So again, New Japan informed you personally. Why would they inform you personally? What personal stake do you have with New Japan Pro Wrestling when you have been burying the company ever since AEW has arrived? And you praise all of the New Japan wrestlers that Tony Khan has poached to go to AEW. You're like, this is great. This is so great. Ospreay is so amazing. So who personally will tell you information like that when New Japan Pro Wrestling has been very, very protected of what gets out there? The ones who are disgruntled will obviously talk. But if you're going to tell the world that New Japan told you personally rather than like professionally, then maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. People in the wrestling industry do talk all the time, and they do have conversations where it's like, personally, somebody told me such and such and such, right? That becomes a story. But does it mean that you tell the whole world if someone told you something personally? That's betraying their confidence. That's betraying their trust, because now how can they trust you if they go to you with something personal? He continues on in the tweet by saying, again, you've had 7 weeks of his disappearing from TV to correct it. And I'm going to keep saying, where is the evidence? You puff out your chest. You say that you have all these people on speed dial and you could just get any story you want and verify whatever you want and talk to this person, talk to that person. But every time that myself and my community push back on like, where's the evidence? Like, why haven't you done this? Why are you just going back and forth with Marie? Why haven't you showed her the evidence? Again, I need something to prove that it's actually true that he got suspended because of the comments. But then again, I have the transcripts of the commentary team, and Chris Charlton was playing a heel because he loves New Japan Pro Wrestling. And by the way, have you been stalking my page for 7 weeks, sir? Have you? That's a little sus, dude. You have my email. Just talk to me like a man. Now, here we go with my response. I say, number one, you must think I'm special since you're asking for an apology when you don't ask anyone else. You don't ask nobody else. You get into it with Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff really destroys you, and you don't act like a boy around him, but around me, you act like a boy. Number two, the bickering looks bad on both of us because you're not willing to prove anything. There's no confirmation from NJPW or Chris. The more that we go back, we're going to be talking in circles. I keep asking for proof and you have no proof. Number three, please do better, David. That was because I had to respond that way, the same way you responded to me in that email. Now let's see the stuff he says. He responded to me with, first, New Japan has confirmed it to multiple people, including the length being 2 months. No, they haven't. If they did, they would have had a tweet ready to go, the article ready to go, the lion mark ready to go, and we would think the worst. David continues with, second, even if they hadn't, the fact he hasn't been there since the day we mentioned it will confirm it. No, it's hearsay. It's all hearsay. He needs to confirm it. New Japan needs to confirm it. I do not know how many times I need to say that. I really don't know how many times. To which I say, and this is me just wanting to end it because, man, stop it. Get some help. I say, you could be absent from work for a number of reasons. That doesn't confirm a vague tweet. Chris Charlton needs to confirm it. It needs to be verified from New Japan specifically, like they always do. With anyone, you're pushing something, David, and that's a tell. And I'm the one that's clout chasing. How am I clout chasing if I'm asking questions and you're not providing the proof to sort of either answer the questions or just be like, hey, this is what it is. This is the only information that I've got, and they haven't gotten back to me. And I'll be like, all right, cool. But guess what? In those 7 weeks, I moved on to make different content, to live stream, and to start doing my tape study series. Now, on Twitter, I do get on the account of AEW because they're not showing New Japan wrestlers the respect that they should be showing the New Japan wrestlers. I do tag Tanahashi. I do tag Gato. I do tag Kadani because the disrespect is so there. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that New Japan Pro Wrestling survives. I'm here trying to uplift the wrestling community. I'm here trying to uplift the wrestling industry by saying, hey guys, this is what we're going to talk about. This is the issue. This is what I don't like. So let's go and try to fix it. Let's go and try to tell New Japan Pro Wrestling, like, hey, you were better before the partnership. Hey, you were better before this. The dirt sheets just create a division and putting out whatever they want and want people to accept it because they think that they're sheep. But no. We've seen through your bullshit so many times, dude, but you don't want to learn. You don't want to grow. I don't know what it is. Thankfully, he stopped replying after I told him to stop and get some help because it doesn't make any sense. If I'm asking for evidence, give me the evidence. New Japan did not tell you guys. And when I say New Japan, I mean like management. They did not tell you guys that he was suspended for 2 months. Somebody personally in the circle had to tell you guys that because it is kind of odd that he's been silent for 7 weeks. Really silent. Even the New Japan wrestlers don't know how this happened. And they also mentioned that Chris Charlton has no heat with the boys. So why did he get suspended? Because he said anti-AEW remarks, because it hurt your feelings and it hurt Tony Khan's feelings, when it is true he is a money mark. He's throwing around his money all the time. And I said it in that podcast that even I say it, other people who have a podcast say it, because it is true. We are watching this in real time with our eyes. We are observing this in real time with our eyes. The only difference is that I have the balls to call it out and to talk about it and to improve it and see what we can do. Because that is what you do for a wrestling community. That is what you do for wrestling itself. I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. I am a hardcore New Japan fan, and I will defend New Japan Pro Wrestling. Whether they see me or not, hopefully they see me. But seriously, I don't know what your problem is, David, because at this point, you should be moving on too. If you're not going to show me any evidence, and in 2 weeks, Chris Charlton returns, and if Chris Charlton does say something on commentary about his supposed suspension, and if it's any of the lines of him trying to save face so he doesn't get in trouble again, I'm going to know that it was definitely a very personal hotshot decision for that. Because again, I have the transcript from Wrestle Dynasty. You guys can read it in full. You guys can make your own decisions, your own sort of conclusions if you want to. So we'll see what happens when Chris Charlton comes back. If he does say something, then I'm going to see what it is. In the meantime, you are not getting an apology because there is nothing wrong at all. You're just hurt that I am questioning the hearsay and breaking down the veil and the wall that you desperately tried to keep up so that way people can fall for the bullshit and your ego grows and grows and grows and grows. And I wanted to address some of the comments because the comments made me laugh. I'm not really angry at the comment. We had somebody that called me a con artist. I have no idea if you understand the word con artist or the phrase. They said that I show my true colors. Boy, you are colorblind because you don't know what the fuck you talking about. They said that I'm a grifter. Again, what am I swindling you out of your money? You should be talking to David about that by asking for refunds. I actually give value to my community and break down wrestling matches and tell them the meaning of a wrist hold and why it's very important to have wrist control in a match and how to build a wrestler and how to build a character and all of that kind of stuff. I hope that was enough because I have no other evidence to talk about. After this, we are moving on. You're not getting your apology. I guess my bad for you waiting 7 weeks when you could have just emailed me and be like, hey, I don't like this. I don't like that. I need an apology, but I also need evidence. So again, I don't know why you waited 7 weeks to finally tell me online like a little baby that, oh my God, apologize to me. I will ask this question though, because everybody that has commented would say, oh my God, be careful. He'll block you now. Why haven't you blocked me? Why haven't you unsubscribed to my Substack newsletter if I hurt you that much? There are other collaborators in the space that I collaborated with, especially the flutes that you should be familiar with. You blocked him. You blocked Pro Wrestle Times. You block a bunch of other people. But for me, you still want to stalk my page. You still want to be like, oh, you had 7 weeks to correct it. You open up certain emails, especially when it's like New Japan related, some Tony Khan related and WWE stuff created. But debunking your tweet about Chris Charlton is the thing that you want to get upset at when there's no evidence to give me to correct. And you want me to believe the hearsay, thinking that I am part of the herd. No, I am not part of the herd. Everything that I have built on the name Marie Shadows, don't you forget it. Everything that I have built on the name Marie Shadows, it's all original from the ground up. I did not need no man-made machine behind me. All I need is my community behind me, and I love each and every one of them. So again, you are so bothered by nothingness where both you and I cannot prove what is wrong, what is right. This is why it is a lose-lose situation, or even a nothing burger, as the kids say. But you want to push this idea that I owe you an apology, when again, you haven't asked for no other apology from anybody else. Why? Because I'm able to basically ask questions, push a little bit, and when you have nothing to provide, you just want me to just be like, oh yeah, my bad. Nah, it's not going to work that way. I want to learn, and I'm going to ask questions. That is what I'm going to do, always. So again, I ask, why haven't you blocked me? Why haven't you unsubscribed from my Substack? If that post made you feel some type of way that you had to keep that feeling inside for 7 weeks. And finally, when someone tags you, who's a mutual of mine, you had to be like, let me know when she apologizes. After this, we are moving forward. I will continue to make my own content. You will continue to make your own content. I will continue to be the loudest voice and advocate for New Japan Pro Wrestling until the partnership actually becomes a partnership and not a one-sided partnership, which, by the way, you even opened up that post as well too on the newsletter. And you could have said something, but you never did. You could have said, oh, well, think of it this way. Here's a different perspective. But you don't want conversation, David. I want conversation. And for people that don't want conversation, don't want to grow together in the wrestling community and enlighten themselves in a very positive way, because they've been told all their life that they are completely right and that everyone else around them is wrong. So again, we're both going to make different content. We're both going to go our separate ways. And you have the option of blocking me if you want to. And also, you have the option of unsubscribing to the Substack newsletter. But yeah, I will continue to be the loudest voice. I will tag everyone that I need to from New Japan Pro Wrestling so they can wake up and realize how much AEW and Tony Khan is such a parasite on them, and nothing is really helping. There is no benefit to this. And tweeting that out with no evidence, and no evidence from the PR machine NJPW themselves, definitely creates a stronger division within the wrestling community. We don't need any more division. But you are so hell-bent on keeping that division and making up numbers and throwing out the restaurant sort of analogies for wrestling businesses where like it doesn't make sense, it doesn't equate, but you could do no wrong. Well, I'm here to tell you that my name is Marie Shadows, and don't you ever forget it.